Let's get to it. So, what's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. You're listening to Cinema Crossroads with Simon Hill, black man from America, here with AKDI, the most beautiful woman from Turkey. I snatched her up. She's mine now. You can't have her. And this is episode 30 of our movie and series review. Episodes that we're doing on X live for the people. So come on in and join us anytime that we do these. We got a bunch of movies on the list that we're going to do. We're marching towards episode 50, so stay tuned. And yeah. Today we're going to be doing our second series that we've ever done. The first one we did was We Are Who We Are, the HBO miniseries. And today we're doing a miniseries. I believe that was on Hulu. I think it's titled Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And it stars Donald Glover and another woman named Maya Erskine. And we watched it, I would say, about a week ago. And now we're just now getting back to reviewing it. So, AKDI, how did you feel about watching the show?
I mean, I love Donald Glover. I think everything he does has a little bit of humor and a little bit of truth telling, and it's always fun. So I went into this with good views, and I enjoyed it. I think it was good. It wasn't better than like Atlanta for sure, but it was like different. It was funny, and they touched on some important themes of today. So I liked it overall. What about you?
See, you and me, we have disagreements about Donald Glover as a actor, as a person.
You know I love him.
I,
Stop.
I have
Stop playing.
I have a hate to love relationship with this man. I love a lot of his music. Sometimes I love a lot of the things he's created. But it's weird looking at it because I feel like the perspective that he has with a lot of the art that he creates it's almost antagonistic to the crowd. It's like he's like putting a middle finger up to the crowd the entire time, saying like, "See, I'm gonna show you what a black person can do." Like in a weird way. I know that sounds hypocritical coming from me because that's a lot of how I want to live my life. But the way he does it, it's just very like thumbing your nose at the audience. He just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Pause, if you get what I'm saying.
Okay. I mean, I don't see it that way, but maybe that's because I'm white. But I feel like if you and him sat down, like you would have the same views. That's how I feel.
See, that's the thing. Like you said, oh, I like him because maybe I like him because I'm white, and that's the thing. I'm like, yo, I think he purposely makes stuff that he knows white people will eat up, and black people will just like because he's such a good director and a creative mind and screenwriter, producer, everything like that. So it's like hard not to appreciate it. But then at the same time, I don't know exactly what it is, how to put it in words. I don't know
I
exactly.
don't know. I mean, yes, of course he touches on like black opinions and stuff like that, but I don't think like talking about Mr. and Mrs. Smith or Atlanta, at least those two, I feel like it's not like just only about black perspective. It's like maybe in my opinion, it gives me a glimpse of like stuff that he thinks about, stuff he joke about as a black person, if that makes sense, or as a person.
I could definitely say that this is the least black thing he's ever made, honestly. Because if you compare it to Atlanta, of course, it's night and day, like the blackness in it, right? If we compare it to that movie he did with Rihanna, I forgot the name. Do you remember that name of the movie?
Something Island. I
Yeah, some
forgot.
Gumtree Island, something like that. Guava
Guava.
Island,
Yeah.
something like that, right? That was very black. Some of the other movies he's done have been very black as well. But this is just post-racial Benetton ad. It's very Honey Nut Cheerios commercial, if that makes sense. I don't know how to exactly describe it. It was entertaining, but I feel like it was a very very slow pickup. If this was a longer series, I don't think I could have finished it because for me it didn't really start until like episode 4. How did you feel about like the pace of the show?
I mean, I do agree. I think it started on episode 3 where they go to the skiing resort.
Mm.
But before that, it was just like the 2 episodes of build up and I guess maybe a little bit of like how these characters got there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a bit of a slow pace. But I think after like episode 3 or 4, it picks up and it was like more fun to watch. It was like, okay, what they're going to do next. And also like how they titled it and stuff like that. I thought that was interesting as well because
Right.
it wasn't like it was like, the titles were like the stuff that couples go through in a relationship, but they were also spies and stuff. So I thought it was fun.
Yeah, the titles of the episode are First Date, Second Date, First Vacation, Double Date, Do You Want Kids, Couple Therapy, Infidelity, A Breakup. And that's it. Those are all the episodes, 8 episodes in the story. And yeah, it's like the stages of a relationship, which is interesting because that's sort of like what they go through. I think for me, the episodes 1, 2, and 3 weren't, very memorable because for me, I think, once again, getting back on Donald Glover's ass, like he is not that, how can I say, charismatic as an actor. Like how do I say this? How do I put it in words? I feel like I'm trying to find words to hate on him, but it's like when he's on stage, he's just smoldering all the time. And he's just like has like this air about him that's sort of like arrogant, sort of like everything comes to him, sort of like how like I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to put it exactly, but it's not like he has any charm to his character when he's acting in any character. And the same goes for his character in Atlanta too. He always has this look about him like he's like, smarter than the rest of us and like putting his eyebrow up at everything that happens around, like he can't believe how weird everything is. Does that make sense?
Okay, but I mean, I don't see him like that. And maybe that's because of Community, the show. He feels like it feels like for me he has like this geeky charm, if that makes sense. Or like I don't know, his charm comes from like just him being in Atlanta, for example, just him being like an ordinary guy, just trying to deal with the emotions of the world.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's philosophical. And
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I think he's charming, not in a traditional way, maybe,
Okay.
but overall, I like his like stance in screen.
Yeah. I feel a little bit like, I'm projecting like my insecurities onto him and like projecting like some of the negative things people might think about me onto him, if that makes sense. But I feel like I don't know what it is about him exactly, but something is not right. And maybe it's also because I can't divorce like when I see him on screen and other comments he's made like in interviews and in other media. Like I'll never forget the comment he said where, black women scare me. And and stuff like that. And when he says stuff like that, I'm like, what? Okay, how am I supposed to trust you as this black man on screen representing black masculinity and you're scared of black women? You get what I'm saying? You know how, I don't know if you've ever had that happen, but there was an actor or an artist you really liked, then they say something stupid or crazy on social media or in an interview, and you can almost never look at them the same. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand that. I haven't seen any of his interviews, and honestly, I only know him as an actor, or like a writer, or a singer, a songwriter. So I only know him from his artist side, and I didn't like look into his interviews or anything.
Yeah.
So I can't say anything about those things. But that comment is crazy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I know, like within especially like Black Americans, there's a strong like opinion of like whoever one of us does something, it reflects on all of us,
Hmm.
sort of thinking.
Hmm.
And I think he's just like saying stuff or doing stuff, at least in his art, just about him, and not you know some of them are, yes, overall reflects on like Black people in general.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I don't think like we should judge him on that.
Okay. I know. That's why I watched it. That's why I watched all of Atlanta. That's why I watched Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Guava Island. And whatever he comes out next with, I will begrudgingly watch it because, hands down, he is one of the most creative, innovative minds that we have working in film and cinema, right? It's like Jordan Peele, James Samuel, Donald Glover. Like, these are our top three guys right now. So I'm not going to ever knock him. You feel me?
Yeah, definitely. He's a definitely like a creative guy.
Yeah. And my brother loves his albums. Like my brother was listening to like Camp and because of the internet. I really only got on him because of like Awaken My Love. Like that album was cool, especially like Redbone and stuff like that. And he is a dope rapper. I'm not gonna hate on him as a rapper. But yeah, one more thing I gotta say. The Atlanta episode about reparations. That episode really bothered me. I'm like, as a black person, how are you gonna make reparations look like that? Like we're just gonna be harassing white people for them to individually give us money. Like these are my issues with Donald Glover. I just have to exercise all of this out of me right now. So let me just get it
Yeah.
out.
I mean, you don't really know like where when writers write stuff for TV, you don't really know where they're coming from. Maybe he just imagined this dystopic ending to that, and obviously, like I imagine he would want reparations too. But he's like, okay, so if reparations happens, then there will be one like some of these incidents that's also going to happen.
Donald Glover don't want reparations. He got a white wife.
Okay, you have a white wife.
I sure do. With that said, speaking of wife, what did you think of Jane, Maya Erskine, the actress who played her character? What did you think of Jane in
I
this series?
loved Jane. Sometimes she was very relatable
Mm,
when it comes to like trusting people and trusting the people you date specifically. So I thought like she was relatable, and obviously both of them had like some psychological issues, specifically Jane also.
mhm,
But yeah, like she was fun, and at times when she was like sort of rude to Mr. Smith, I
mhm.
loved those moments. Like she was sarcastic, so I liked her character.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that Jane, the entire time, I didn't exactly like trust her. Like, as especially with what happens later in the series, like I felt like she was always more about the job than being with Mr. Smith, right, or John. I'm gonna call him right. So yeah, I didn't know exactly how to feel about like her as a character, but I can say the actress did a great job of bringing that character to life. She was very believable in all of her action scenes, in all the scenes of intimacy where they were laughing together or fighting each other. It seemed very real. So yeah, they did come across on screen like a real relationship, and so that takes talent on both sides. And I believe this is like one of her first major roles. So to see her hold it down with like a seasoned actor like Donald, that was cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. By the way, Matt Villainy jumped in. Shout out to you as well. So let's get into this story. So basically, this story is about two strangers who independently agree to become secret agents for a mysterious organization undercover as a married couple using the names John and Jane Smith. The couple must work through missions as their espionage skills and developing relationship are put to the test. All instructions are received from an anonymous source via text, whose name is Hi. Hi. That's such a weird thing. That's such a Hi was the person on the text who was sending the messages. Who do you think Hi is? Who do you think the organization is?
I don't know. I think it's not like a government organization, definitely. I think it was like, this private organization that just hires agents to sort of like, I thought they get their missions from like rich people
Hmm.
around the world that like we don't know the names of and stuff like that. So, and they did their dirty works a little bit. That's what it felt like to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they were like private mercenaries rather than spies because it's not like they were gathering intelligence. They were just killing people really across the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because this is a Donald Glover show, probably the real answer is just more weird. Like this is a secret society of vampires who really just want to fuck with humanity before they come and just eat us all. I don't know. Like it's probably something more strange and weird because that's what Atlanta is, right? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
all right, let's go into episode one, the first date. So, a couple named John and Jane are shot dead by armed intruders. Later, two strangers undergo an interview for a mysterious organization and are hired to sever ties with their past to become spies. John and Jane Smith at a high risk level. For their first mission, they are instructed to intercept a package and deliver it to a set location. John and Jane tentatively bond as they deliver what turns out to be a bomb that explodes and kills the inhabitants of the home. At the beginning of the show, and in fact, for the first three episodes, I was wondering, okay, who are the people that just got killed at the beginning of the show? I didn't realize it at first that they were also former spies. John and Jane. There's when the show opens, these people are like running in the house, getting all these guns, busting at these people that are coming to like capture them or kill them, and then they get murdered. And I was like, what just happened? Is this the end of the show? I don't know. But yeah, the first episode overall was pretty forgettable for me. The only thing I really remember is that John and Jane like met in the elevator. They had their after they had their interviews, they talked a little bit about themselves to the mysterious box that was interviewing them. Jane, is good at saving the money. She's very type A. John, on the other hand, is kind of broke, former military guy, killed a lot of people, has PTSD. John tries to like sleep with Jane the first night, but she brought her cat with her, and she sleeps in the bed with the cat while he sleeps on the couch. But overall, I kind of forgot episode one. But what did you think of it?
Yeah, it wasn't like the best pilot ever, but it was still like enough to keep me engaged, I would say. And yeah, I was impressed because yeah, like when they're talking to themselves, it doesn't really feel like they're spies. Like their conversation is like, sometimes emotional, sometimes they're just like, making jokes and stuff like that, or talking about like random stuff. And then when they get into action, they're very smart, and not all the time, but Jane is like usually smart, and they're fast, and they're kicking, and they have weapons and stuff like that. So I like that dynamic of the show, if that makes sense, where they like introduce the characters in that on that emotional level and just like as normal people,
Mm-hmm.
and then they take us back to when they are like on a mission.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I like that, and I also like the fact that, okay, because we think of spies like having all this intel and stuff like that, but they didn't know exactly what they were doing because their instructions were really just very basic. It was like,
yeah,
find this lady and replace the package or get the package and something like that. And like all the stuff that happened between that, like the failures and stuff like that, those were interesting. And I like that they were clueless and not like the perfect spies.
yeah, yeah. One thing that I think didn't get cleared up is to how Jane had so much like martial art experience and combat and weapons experience because John understandably is good with weapons. He said he was in the army, special reserves or whatever, special ops. But Jane, they didn't exactly say what she did before. So I don't know. Do you remember? Did they say it? Because I forgot it.
I mean, they say it at the end. Should I say it?
That she was in the army or something?
No, she was training for CIA, but
Ah,
she was she had too many psychopath tendencies, so
yeah.
they didn't accept her.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I wish they explained that before. Because the entire time when she's like kicking dudes' asses and like busting guns from the roof, I was like, how did she get this good? How did she get this good?
Yeah, but I think that was like also sort of her character's flaw because she was like just so secretive.
Yeah.
We hardly learned anything. Like we knew that, for example, she didn't have a good relationship with her father,
Hmm.
but we didn't know why or like where was her mother and stuff like that. Most of the things about her, we learned it in the last episode.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Another thing I think you're thinking about when you watch episode one is like, okay, when are they gonna smash? When are they gonna bump the genitalia? When are they gonna make the two back to beast? When are they gonna do it? And the first episode there is like one-sided, attraction because John is trying to come onto her, but she's very ice princess. Were you thinking that too? And were you counting down the episodes to when they would sleep together? Because I thought it would come at the end, like episode 8, they would finally get down.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about that too. Like when are they going to smash? Are they going to smash? Because it felt like Jane was seeing it like strictly business,
Hmm.
and John was sort of like, go with the flow. If we can fuck, I'm gonna try to fuck, sort of like vibe that he gave.
Yeah,
But yeah, he was just like trying to arrange himself according to Jane a little bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I was wondering that, and like we can see like the chemistry between them from the first episode,
Hmm.
and yeah, John was like sort of trying to get under her skin.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I don't remember if in the first episode the neighbor appears or if that's in the second episode.
I
But
think that's the second episode.
all right, then let's jump to the second episode. So this is second date. John and Jane begin to cautiously open up to each other, setting initial boundaries against sleeping together and plan to eventually go their separate ways. Their next mission is to infiltrate a black tie silent auction and discreetly extract information from an unknown target. Despite successfully identifying the target as Eric Shane, miscommunication leads to them overdosing with truth serum, which results in his death. Their handler informs them that this was their first failed mission and that they have two fails remaining. Subsequent emotions and bonding leads the duo breaking their agreement and sleeping together. This was an okay episode. There was a bit more action there. I still was not really tied into the show. Really, I was only watching the show to like help me go to sleep at night or like in between classes. Like, so I wasn't really tied in. It was just something to have on. But second episode was okay. I just remember that they ended up kidnapping. I can't speak. They ended up taking this like multi-billionaire to their home and then putting him on drugs and then like killing him. Then they broke his arm in the bathtub and then they throw up and they like chop up his body and dispose of it. But that's really all I remember from the second episode. What did you think of it?
Yeah, it was sort of like the classic, movie part where the characters glam up and they're on the spy duty, I guess. It was sort of like that. And also, this episode, we see the neighbor that
Mm-hmm.
tries to hit on Jane. And I was like, really, Jane? Like, you're going for a plain John? And yeah, but I was like, you wouldn't. Okay, so you're not going to smash like actual John, but you're going for like that guy, really? I was like, sort of. But I also thought, like, okay, she's trying to make him jealous a little bit, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess like looking at it now, there was like this one interesting scene, or maybe like a social commentary. And when they're about to go into the ballroom or the silent auction, right? I thought that scene was interesting. Like the first scenes in the silent auction. First, when they decide to enter, John says like, "I'm gonna go from the back and be a waiter because there are like 5 black guys in here. So if something goes down, they're gonna recognize me."
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting. And also like all the conversation about art inside and how like it made me think like, okay, like rich people just really want to like twist stuff and make stuff more fun because they're bored. Like you have all this like art and you can talk about them and stuff like that, but rather it's like a game where they like silently auction it off and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the character of the rich guy also,
Mm-hmm.
he was like annoying. He was twisted. He wanted them like to act like dogs and lick each other and sniff each other's butts and stuff like that. And yeah, after like the whole incident happens, since they're like so stressed out now because they killed the guy accidentally and they failed the mission, I think that's also when like they're sort of like they have to de-stress a little bit and they end up like making out right at the end of this
No,
episode.
they said they ended up sleeping together.
Oh yeah, okay, they end up sleeping together, which was the moment we were waiting for. But I was also like, okay, like they end up sleeping together, but are they going to be like really be together,
Mm.
or was it just for that night because they failed the mission and they were feeling bad? And
Yeah.
I didn't know really, but it was okay.
Yeah, it was just okay. It was just okay. I want to go back and talk about their house, the place that they're staying. I think they're in New York, if I remember right.
Yeah,
And they're living in this brownstone that's just immaculate, and it's really cool. Like the house has, like I think like a bunker, like multiple bedrooms, wide spacious living room, beautiful kitchen, a safe room. It's a very dope house, and it was also interesting how the camera, like at different scenes when they're in the house, like show different parts of the house and how the architecture was designed in the interior and the art and stuff like that in this house. So just kudos for the design of this, scenery, because a lot of this show takes place in this house. Some of the major scenes do. And yeah, episode 2 was a bit more action packed, but it was just okay. Just okay.
yeah.
Shall we go to episode 3?
Let's go.
All right, so first vacation, and this is when the show starts to pick up a bit. So the Smiths' next mission sends them to the Italian Dolomites, which are like skiing resort mountains, to observe and report on couple Gavol and Parker. John and Jane bond further throughout their mission, but things come to a head when it is revealed that John remains in constant contact with his mother, which is against the rules. Splitting up to follow and extract information from each target, John attempts a rescue operation when Gavol is kidnapped. Gavol is a woman, by the way, despite having already completed his mission by bugging her phone. After rescuing Gavol and eliminating the kidnappers, John, freezing and near death, is saved by Jane. While recovering, they admit they are beginning to have deeper feelings for each other. So the thing I remember about this episode is that it starts off with them like, bonding really well. Like they're like giggling, kikiing, laughing and stuff like that. They're in the hotel room and they're spying on this billionaire woman with her surfer husband by watching the TV because they have the cameras like linked to the TVs in their hotel room. And they're like, oh, I promise that we'll never fight like that, or promise that we don't act like that and stuff like that. Like they're boyfriend and girlfriend now. And we don't know how much time has passed since the second date episode. So maybe they've went on multiple missions. Maybe this has been a month, maybe a week, who knows? But they're obviously like much closer. I also really liked how the show, or at least in this episode, showed the scenery. Like they took you out of mid New York or whatever and brought you to this beautiful Italian landscape, and that was really cool. And another thing I was thinking is like, how do they always explain who they are where they go? Because the excuse they're giving is that they are software developers, but I don't think most software developers can afford the most expensive Italian ski resorts with billionaires and stuff like that. I don't think that's possible. So I was like, the show kind of took me out of the believability for that. But what did you think of this episode?
I mean, I don't really know exactly what software developers make, but I think some of them are wealthy.
Yeah, like
And I
100,000,
mean,
maybe 200,000. But
if you have the money, you don't really need to explain who you are, really. You could say that like you're doing anything, and if you present the money, no one is going to ask for any details. But about the episode, yeah, I also liked it. Like they went to another country. I don't know if they actually shot like in Italy or anything like that, but I guess they did. And it was like a beautiful, scenery, like you said, and also
yeah.
like that relationship between the people they were observing. That was interesting as well because you have like this very successful woman, and on the other hand, you have like a sort of like a stay-at-home husband,
Mm-hmm.
and he's always like struggling to get her to spend time with them, and it's like a bit of a roles reverse situation from the tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they were bonding in this episode, they also like have disagreements about most of the things, because like that's what I was sort of thinking, because I remember when they were like at the restaurant in the hotel, John starts to make friends with people around him, and he meets like this old like German couple, I guess. And yeah, like he starts talking to them, asking them questions, and then Jane is like following up on the mission, and she's like, "Oh, I hate travel plans. Like you only go and travel so you can get away from your friends. So why make new ones?" And it was like, and John was like, "I love travel friends." So like I can like you can see like they're very different,
Yeah.
but they also have that different connection as well.
Yeah, yeah. This is a dysfunctional relationship that's only kept together because they have the same job. But in any other circumstance, these two would not be together because like John loves his mother. He talks to his mother all the time. And if I remember right, they were on like a gondola going up a hill, and then he brought up that she doesn't talk to her father at all. Like she doesn't talk to her family at all. But John is really big on family. He finds family very important because his mother died. Her mother, his father died, and so his mother is all alone. So he's the only one who can really like take care of her, and he takes that responsibility serious. And Jane is like, this job is more important than anything. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Also, yeah, also like how when they were like, okay, they split up so they can talk to the husband and the wife alone because they have to bug their phones. So that means they have to establish some sort of conversation with them. And that was also interesting because it showed like, okay, so spying is not only about guns and fighting and action all the time. You have to be smart. You have to like be able to shape shift a little bit and be a little bit of like that, sort of like a sociopath or something. Like you have to be a little bit of a, not a little bit, you have to be a very great liar. But yeah, that was also interesting as well. And
Yeah.
I think here also maybe they have their first sort of not fight, but yeah, like when they split up, the lady that Donald Glover was trying to bug her phone, she got kidnapped, and saving her from the kidnappers wasn't really part of the mission. They were just supposed to bug the phones and listen to the conversation. And because he wanted to save the lady, he basically like locked his location, and Jane couldn't tell where he was, and they had like this argument, and Jane was like, you disabled your location and I couldn't see you, and you can't do that. And I think obviously I feel like Jane suffers from like separation anxiety, or being left or being abandoned, and I think that's why she was so upset. But they had that sort of like argument a little bit as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So John is like trying to save the billionaire woman who got kidnapped, and Jane is like texting him like, "Tell me where you are. I fucking hate you. You always do this." And then she texts another message like, "I'm sorry. Please answer." It was like that part was funny because it was like so like real. It's like real world stuff, but also mixed with this fantasy spy reality stuff. And so the kidnappers capture the billionaire woman, and they tell her to call her husband. And her husband gets a phone call from the kidnappers and says, "This is what you need to do. Sell all your stocks right now, empty your bank account, and then we'll give you further instructions. If you say no, we'll kill her." And the guy says, "No." I
Yeah,
was
that
like,
was
yes.
crazy.
And then he looks at his son. He looks at the mother of his son, looks back at the mountains of Italy, and says, "No, fuck that bitch." Yo, but the crazy thing is, at the end of the episode, Donald Glover, John saves the billionaire woman. The billionaire woman goes back to her husband, and then they have a fight in their hotel room. The billionaire woman and her husband. She's like, "You told him to kill me," and he was like, "We already spoke about this. This is what I was supposed to do." And then she was like, "I can't believe you did this." And then they end up kissing and making up. Like, what? What did you think of that?
Yeah, it once again proves that women like to say one thing and expect another. Sometimes we do want like no matter what we say, if we say go, we mean don't go, and if we say like don't touch me, we mean grab me and
Wow.
kiss me. Those sorts of things, I think sometimes they are real, not all the time, guys.
Right.
Sometimes it's sexual assaults, but sometimes it's not.
Okay. But that was
Anyway,
fun.
but
That was
yeah.
just a very unexpected ending because I thought, she was because the entire time, like the billionaire woman and her husband, they were fighting. They were about to get a divorce. I think they even said, "Let's get a divorce," somewhere in there. And the next thing you know, they've made up after he almost killed her. So I was like, "Where? This is so Atlanta." It was like that's so Atlanta.
No, I mean it's like she almost died and he almost lost her, so now their love is stronger than ever because they had the fear of losing each other.
Aw, but you can't trust that person. I mean, what does that say? I don't know
But
what
that's
that's.
what they talked about. Like they said, if I ever get kidnapped, you have to like let me die.
Mm, okay. So does she love him because she knows she has a good boy that will follow instructions?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That was crazy. But another funny thing about this episode, before we move on to the really good episode, episode 4, is that Jane finds John like left in the snow, like dying almost, and then she like puts him in like some hot water in the bathtub, and John is like, I can't feel my dick," and then he's like, "Jane, can you touch it?" Or Jane puts her hand on it, and she's like, "Your dick is still there. It didn't get frostbite or something," and then he's like, "It hurts so much. Maybe if you put your mouth on it." I was like, all right, that's like something I would say. I'm not gonna lie, that's something I would say. And then,
Yeah. That
and
was
then,
that's such a guy thing,
yeah,
just a tip.
it was just like, it was very bro humor-ish, and I don't know why it landed. I don't know why it landed, but it was very bro humor. And then the final scene is like they're on a train back from the mission, and Jane like farts in bed, and then they have a funny moment there too. I just thought that was cute because we never see women fart in movies, and I just wish it was a loud, nasty brap. That's what I wish it was.
I mean, it was funny because earlier, like when they were in the resort, she farted, and because she wouldn't admit it, they acted like they heard a noise and grabbed their guns and stuff.
Ah, I missed
So
that.
then afterwards, like she was on a train and she said, like, "Oh, I have to like, I'm gonna go stroll around the train a little bit, maybe pick up a snack." And then John was like, "Just fart here." And yeah, like the like ladies, if you know, you know, the first time you fart next to your boyfriend or whatever, that's a different connection.
Wow.
Connection is made.
I don't remember that scene where she farted and they pulled out their guns. Was that in this episode?
Yeah, it was like when the first night they were staying at the resort.
Ah, okay, okay. I missed that. I missed that. Okay. All right. Well, let's go to episode 4, which is the episode that brought me into the show. Because even though episode 3 was had some good moments, like 4 is where I think you could start watching the show from here, and you're not going to miss out on anything. Like honestly, in my opinion, the first 3 episodes are almost superfluous. You don't need them, honestly. But Double Date is episode 4. John and Jane come across another pair of Smiths who operate at the super high risk level. They invite the other Smiths over on a double date at their house, where the two couples discuss missions, lifestyles, and romance in the company. Upon bringing up their agreement to eventually go separate ways and quit, the other Smiths indicate their employer would never allow this and discuss a previous elimination of another John and Jane. The Smiths are talked into accompanying them on a super high risk mission, but are tricked into completing it themselves. Despite successfully completing the mission, they are left traumatized. Later that night, they admit they love each other. What did you think of this episode?
Yeah, it was a fun episode, definitely. And actually, this was the first episode I watched because you were on this episode and
Mm-hmm.
you were like, watch this with me. And I went back and watched the first 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree, like, you can start from here, but I don't know. I think, like, if you're going to start from the beginning, that's totally okay. But yeah, I thought I didn't trust these two, like the older, I guess, John and Jane.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't trust them. I thought maybe like they were from a enemy company,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they were like I don't know, trying to investigate them and give some intel to Hi Hi or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were like going around the whole house, looking at the safe room and their guns and their secret places behind the paintings and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, like you guys are kind of dumb. Why are you like just telling them and showing them everything?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. When it comes to like their regular conversations, it was weird.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, like you said, it's also like sometimes weird in real life as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever had like yeah, we did have a double date before
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
another couple. And yeah, sometimes it's weird because I feel like each couple has their own dynamics and the stuff that they do
Yeah.
that they think it's normal. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's why like sometimes there's that like awkwardness, and as a couple, like you judge them or something like that, and then like after the couple date, you gossip about it.
Exactly. That's the
So
best part.
yeah, that's the best part. So it kind of reminded me of that. What did
Yeah,
you
yeah.
think?
Uh, I don't. How can I say this? Like going on a couple date or going on a double date, it is very awkward because you're trying to present yourself like the best couple ever, and like everything is okay. Like you might have literally just had like an argument or fight 5 minutes before, and then soon other people come into your house or you go into theirs. You have to be like, "Hey, oh, so what a beautiful home!" Like all that sort of stuff. And so watching this episode, there is sort of like that fake, false, friendliness that they have too, which is funny. At the same time, they're supposed to be spies and they're supposed to be like letting their guard down because these people understand what they do, but still they have to do the fake friendly stuff too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and there's a difference between this John and Jane Smith and the main characters, John and Jane, because the friends they seem older, right? They're more like Gen X. They look at least 5, 10 years older than John and Jane, and they look more seasoned, sophisticated. Meanwhile, John and Jane, the ones we know, they're more like millennial, young couple, just moved into their first house together, that sort of vibe. And the other people, they seem more, in it, deeper, right? And the guy who is the other John, he has like this funny accent, like a Latin American Antonio Banderas accent, stuff like that, like very suave, smooth operator thing. And the other Jane is like this older white woman, has like the Karen haircut, and just seems very like, how can I say this, like superficial, like human resources superficial. Do you get what I'm saying? And yeah, they go into the home, they show them all around, and the other Jane tells our Jane, like, the company is here to help you. Just ask them for whatever you want and stuff like that. And I felt like they were there since as like spies. Like they were there as spies for the company, not a rival company, to try to like see if there were any divisions between them or see if they were doing anything differently in the house. So I was getting a vibe like I didn't trust them either, like you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And maybe it was sort of like that because as we learn at the end. But yeah, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Another thing about this episode, because I watched it twice. I watched it with you the first time, then I watched it the second time. And the first time, I did believe that they were, who they were. But then the second time, I didn't believe them because nothing made sense. Because every time they gave an answer for something, like our John and Jane would ask them, "What's the wildest mission you've been on?" And then they look at each other, and then they just say one word, "Bali," right? And then they have to. It seems like they were making up the stories as they go. And when they asked them, "What type of agents are you?" They didn't say that they were super high risk until our John and Jane said, "Oh, you must be super high risk, right?" Like there was it seemed like they were always mimicking the people, doing a mirroring act with them and stuff like that.
Mm.
Uh, There was also a funny scene, one last scene, when after they have dinner, the guys and all of them are like sitting down, like playing games and laughing in the living room, and they're listening to hip hop. And the older white guy says, "Is this Eminem?" And our John says, "No, this is the Clips." And the white guy says, "Oh, I like Eminem. Is he still performing?" I just thought that was very cute. That was just so cute. It was very cute.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah,
It was like, these white older generation like wondering about Eminem.
yeah. Every rapper is
Um,
Eminem to them.
yeah, that was funny. But yeah, so later on, basically, yeah, they trick them into going on a mission for them, right? And they end up in like the Amazons or something, I'm
Hmm.
guessing. And they end up like they find themselves in the middle of like this I don't know, like this gang in the Amazons, and they have to kill them.
Hmm.
And it's like it's kind of funny because they're driven there by a helicopter. And yeah, like at the end they lose their clothes or something, and like we see them on the helicopter like just looking, there's blood everywhere on them, and they just like wrecked, and they didn't get sleep, they were like on the helicopter all night. And it was funny, like the other John and Jane FaceTimes them
Hmm.
and they're like, oh, so how was it, was it good? And they're like, yeah, it was good. And they're like, they hate these people now.
Hmm.
And but the older John and Jane, they tell them, okay, we'll give the money of this mission to you, but good job.
Hmm.
And they end up going back home, and they're like sort of taking their time to de-stress from this mission.
Hmm.
And they meet up in the bedroom, and Jane is like, I'm trying to cry.
Hmm.
And yeah, so they have like their own ways of trying to de-stress, and that's when they have like the gossip conversation where they sort of blow off steam and they start laughing and stuff like that. Which
Yeah.
like every time they have a mission, we have this scene where they are connecting. And I think they're connecting mostly because of the missions, like you said, because in the beginning of this episode, in the market, where they met the other John, they also see, I think, our John's ex-girlfriend or something like that.
Hmm.
And yeah, after the mission and everything, at the end of the day, we see John checking out her Instagram. So it's like he has like side options or something. He's checking out like this girl Instagram while he's about to get in bed with Jane.
Yeah,
So
but
I don't know.
that wasn't the reason why he was checking her Instagram. He was checking her Instagram because Jane at the beginning said, "Oh, I didn't know your ex only had one hand." And John is like, "I didn't. She didn't have one hand when I dated her." And Jane is like, "How did you not notice that?" And so he believed it. But then at the end of the episode, he's checking her Instagram of his ex, and he sees that she has both hands. So
All right.
he was like, "Why did you lie to me?" And then she was like, "How did you fall for that? Like you're so stupid."
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, now I remember that.
And I think the whole theme of this episode is about believability, truth, trust. Like people can lie and deceive you. And that's when I was like, okay, that was a brilliant episode. Because if you watch it the first time, you believe it. But then if you watch it the second time, you don't believe it when the other John and Jane come into the house. Or, when John runs into his ex and you think she doesn't have one hand because they never show her hand. They never show both of her hands. And that's what I was noticing when I watched this episode again, too. So,
Yeah, like
yeah,
even when she said that, I was like, does she have a one hand?
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
didn't see it, but yeah.
Yeah, and when I watched this episode, like the second time, like when the other John like sneezes 3 times, because I guess apparently that's his thing that he does. It seems so fake. It's a call. When he sneezes 3 times, that's your time to like do something else, right? That's his way of messaging to his Jane. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there was something else I wanted to say about this episode. My only complaint about this episode, because I think it's important later in the series, is that when they're dropped off in the jungle to go on the mission, they edit that part out very strange. So like they're picked up by these kids, brought to this hut, and we don't know exactly who they are. But I think we're going to reveal it, but they were sent there to go kill another John or Jane or something like that.
Yeah.
But we never see them talk to that John or Jane. So you're like, why, who were they or something like that, right? Like, I wish they just showed that part because it didn't make sense what the mission was. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. So are you talking about like they didn't really tell them what to do?
We no, the audience doesn't know, why that mission was so high risk. Because we've seen John and Jane do high risk stuff like tap the phone of a billionaire woman and save her from a kidnapper, right? Like we see them do high risk stuff. Why was this super high risk? That looked very easy.
Yeah,
But
I
if
mean that was the mystery of the event, I guess.
Yeah, but I guess I just wish that was shown. Like who was the other John or Jane that they had to kill off in the jungle? And yeah, it was interesting too that the other John and Jane revealed right then and there in this episode that they have killed other Smiths before, which lets you know this is when I found out in the story that if they fail 3 missions, they're going to get killed. That's what's going to happen. And then that's when I connected it to the very first episode of the series. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I really like this episode. Anything else you want to add on it?
No, I think that's it.
All right, let's go to episode 5. Do you want kids? So John and Jane must protect and escort Toby Hellinger, an asset of apparently high importance to the company. They are ambushed upon arrival at the safe house, and after evading their pursuers, hide out at a property John had bought without Jane's knowledge. The handler asks Jane whether she is happy. Toby and the events of the day lead to the Smiths to discuss their future. The next morning, they escape an ambush, and Jane blows up the house as they take Toby to a seaplane pickup. At home, the Smiths discuss having kids, which John wants, but Jane is against. Tensions rise as their handler singles out Jane's success and gives her the option of replacing John. The person who played Toby in this episode is the same guy who played Thanos. I forgot his name exactly. Do you remember that guy's name?
Um, let's see.
If you don't know,
No,
you could just say no.
no, no.
Yeah, the guy who played him. I don't know. Josh Brolin. No, it's not Josh Brolin.
Ron Perlman.
Yeah, Ron Perlman. Yes, Ron Perlman shows up in this show. He's the guy Toby. They're somewhere in Italy. By the way, this second episode takes place in Italy too. So they're protecting this billionaire from these people that want to kill him, but he acts like a child everywhere they go. So they're trying to save him from like gunmen, but he's like, I don't want to. I don't want to jump. Yeah, can't you wait? I'm tired. Take this bag off my head. Like he's complaining like a kid. So that's why I think this episode was called "Do You Want Kids?" It was cool. I liked this episode. It was a bit slower. It was not as good as Double Date for me. I felt like this was like First Vacation, episode 3. But yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, I think like in this episode, it was more of like big relationship questions rather than the mission itself. That was important for me because, yeah, like for example, John buys this house in Lake Como and he doesn't tell Jane, and he was broke, by the way. So yeah, and Jane is like, "How do you buy a house and not tell me about it?" And he's like, "It's a gift, you know. You should be happy." And those are sort of like things some couples like fight about, you know, spending without telling the other, even though if it's like for something that they would do together. And yeah, I think also like, yeah, we see like this another rich guy who did very bad things in his life, and he just kind of wants to die. So I think that's also why he's acting like a kid
Mm-hmm.
as well. Yeah, and for the first time, like we see Jane being more kind than John, because usually John is like the guy who makes jokes and connects with people. And in this episode, it feels like Jane is doing that. And maybe I thought it was because this guy was sort of reminded her of her father, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And yeah, so yeah, there wasn't like a lot of stuff. There was also like the kid stuff that they were like struggling with, obviously,
Yeah.
because Jane was like nauseous at some point, and then also he said like, I don't want to drink. So John was like, "Are you pregnant? Because if you are, that's great." And yeah, that's also like a conversation that comes, I feel like, in modern relationships. Most of the time, a woman who are young don't want to have kids because they're like, I don't know, they have different reasons, but some of them are like, I don't really feel like I could be a good mother, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't really, you know, want to be that role. I don't want to have that role in life. And I think that's what Jane was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she was kind of making an excuse, like, you know, do we really want to bring a kid to this life?
Yeah. Yeah, I wish that in this show there was like time that like they showed you, okay, this is mission number 103 or something like that, because we don't know how long they've been together, acting like a couple or sleeping together or in a relationship. But definitely John was coming on way too strong. Like there's a scene in here when he says, "I want to put a baby in you," and like he's really buying a house, like trying to surprise this girl and stuff like that. Yeah, I was like, "What are you doing, man? This is not player rules. This is not player rules. Like you're going too hard in the paint."
Yeah, definitely. And also, I think this is the episode where Hi Hi takes a special interest in Jane.
Hmm.
And he's like, "Are you happy? You know, are you happy with John? You know, we can get you a new John if you want. We
Yeah.
want you to go to the high risk next level, like spy."
Hmm.
And yeah, we're left like in this episode, we're left with like her not answering that.
Hmm.
And yeah, basically
Yeah.
she's questioning like, you know, I think she was questioning, do I really love John, or do I really think I can make it with John?
Yeah.
Because it's obvious, yes, they have this like connection, but they have disagreements about almost everything.
Yeah, I think also in this episode there was a conversation between them where John said, "Oh, I want to slow down. I want to go to low risk and not do high risk. I just want to like deliver packages. I can do that. I might make less money, but it will be more fun, more easy, and I can have a family." And Jane is like, "No, I want to go super high risk." And I think they weren't realizing that Hi was probably always listening to them. Like every conversation they had, there was probably a way that the company heard what they were saying. So that's why Jane got the message like, "Are you happy? Is everything okay? You want to replace your John?" And I think also, and this is what bothers me about TV nowadays. This is the number one thing I hate. There was a text conversation. There was a text conversation where Jane said to Hi, like, "John wants me to have a baby. Is that a part of the mission? Is that a part of the company?" And and the company replied, "Well, if you think you should have a baby, then do what you want." Like, what type of answer is this? Like, it was very strange. It was very strange. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I know like you hate text messages on the screen because we have to read them, but even for me, like sometimes, most of the times, I don't mind. But this was like such a long conversation that they had, and we constantly had to read, and it was sort of like hard to read on the screen, so it was annoying. But yeah, I don't know. It felt a bit weird, like this Hi person,
Okay, okay.
because he was like a sort of like a, I don't know, like a chill dude. I don't know.
Okay, okay. All right. So, number one, don't say I hate seeing text on the screen because then you have to read. That makes me sound like I don't like to read.
No, no, but that's, you like to read. Everyone knows, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah. I'm just teasing you. By the way, Mad Villainy jumps into the comments. He said, "When did Ron Perlman play Thanos?" Josh Brolin. I knew it was Josh Brolin because I typed it in. But then you said Ron Perlman acting, and I'm not even gonna lie. Ron Perlman looks more like Thanos in the face. That man naturally looks like Thanos. So I don't know who's right or who's wrong. I think Josh Brolin plays Ron Perlman in real life because Ron Perlman is the actual Thanos of our existence. Don't that man look like Thanos in the chin? You paint him purple, he looked like Thanos.
I
No.
don't know. Like I didn't see Thanos, so I don't know. I just looked at the guest starring on Wikipedia, and he plays Toby Hellinger, and that's all I
Okay,
know.
but type in Thanos right now on Google and tell me that man don't look like Thanos in the face.
Maybe like
Type
Thanos is like younger though.
No, Thanos is like 1,000-year-old celestial evil creature. Type in Thanos in the face right now, and then type Ron Perlman's chin, and you'll see.
Yeah, he
Don't he
looks
look
like Thanos on retirement.
exactly? He looks like Ron Perlman looks like Thanos trying to pretend to be human.
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely like they look alike.
I'm tripping. I'm really tripping right now. But shout out to Matt Villainy for clearing that up. Where were we? Where were we? Oh man, forgot
Let's go to
exactly.
the next episode.
Really, I feel like there was more to cover in this.
I don't know. Anything you want to say?
Um, well, I guess we'll skip it. Yeah, we sort of covered it. Like I said, episode 5 is okay. John was coming on a bit too hard. Let's go to episode 6, couple therapy, naked and afraid. I think you really like this episode.
I do.
Okay, John and Jane attend multiple sessions of couples therapy. They discuss their work and relationship under the guise of software engineers. Throughout therapy, flashbacks show multiple missions which have led to further tension between the couple. One where John attempts to take the lead of an infiltration, a later chase and execution of a target, and a tracking wilderness mission. John expresses how he misses Jane looking up to him, and Jane discusses John's behavior and her beliefs of compatibility. The therapist suggests working separately before revealing she has been recording every session. To destroy any copies, the Smiths set the house on fire as they leave. What do you think of this?
Yeah, it was an interesting episode, and I like the actress who plays the therapist, Sarah. Yeah, Sarah Paulson. I don't know if you know her, but I think she's dope.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I liked it because she was like this quirky therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it felt once again like a something that you might go through in therapy. And also the mission that they went through was sort of funny because like how John was connecting with the other black guys in the poker table,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like talking about chicks and I don't know like other stuff, and it was also funny how they like talked about yoga and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
because in a girl's mind I don't really imagine like guy talking about yoga and stuff, but that was just like funny for me, and I do think like Jane got jealous of him here
Mm-hmm.
because he was sort of like the lead guy in this mission.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the fact that she just like couldn't wait anymore and shot all the guys.
Right, right. It
Uh,
seems like there was like tension between Jane and John over leading the missions, which doesn't show up in the other episodes, but I guess it shows up in episode 5 because, in episode 5, because John bought the house, that's sort of like, how they almost died. But it took Jane to save the day by blowing up the house. And so this sort of continues into episode 6 while they're in therapy and they're talking about their, issues. The flashbacks show that Jane constantly has to like speed up the missions because John takes too long or he's too sloppy and he doesn't cross the T's and dot the I's. And I really thought it was sad when she executed all those black men that he was sitting down and having conversation with. Not that it was like racist or anything like that. It was just sad because it looked like that was one of the few times John was like happy and like bonding in the episode. And then the next thing you know, the guys are like killed. And I wonder, how that affected him. But what did you think?
yeah, I mean probably John was gonna kill them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that like in that scene, I definitely felt the uncomfortableness of John, and he
Mm-hmm.
was like shocked
Mm-hmm.
and mad. And I think maybe like their rivalry, or at least like in Jane's head, even though she said no to Hi Hi about replacing John, she liked getting praised by Hi Hi, and she liked
Mm-hmm.
the fact that Hi Hi said you're better. We want to upgrade you and not him, and all of those things. So that's why she was bothered by like John
Mm-hmm.
taking the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And like yes, John might be sloppy and slow, but there are times where like his sort of like go with the flow attitude comes in handy,
Yeah.
because I feel like Jane is a bit like hectic
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, if that makes sense, or like anxious.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that like that sort of like their balance
Mm-hmm.
in a way. But yeah, I don't know. And also like interesting. It was interesting that John said like I miss the times when she used to like look up to me,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like I don't know. Maybe I feel like this is one of Jane's first or like longest relationships, even though it started out as not a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So as a I don't know if this is the same for guys, but also like it was the same for me. I learned a lot with you.
Mm-hmm.
For example, when we were both together, because this was like my deepest connection to anyone ever.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, because you learn a lot of things, maybe like it starts to feel like you want to give certain things back, and maybe you've learned enough. So yeah, maybe you want to like gain back control a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of your own thoughts and feelings, so that
Mm-hmm.
you don't get lost in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. So maybe that was bothering John a little
Mm-hmm.
bit.
Yeah, possibly that's what was going on with him. But it also seemed like they were stressed out because they kept on failing missions. Because as we see by the end of this, they're like 2 and 3. So like John once again leads a mission that causes them to go on some camping trip where he lies about something about I forgot exactly about not bringing the cell phones or the time the mission was going to be, and he lied so that he could actually like spend time with Jane alone on a camping trip. Meanwhile, she's upset because like the target that they're chasing isn't appearing. So John ends up like shooting in the air and getting really upset with her. They have a big fight at the camp where he just like reads her for the filth that she's like kind of cold, sociopathic. She just mirrors how other people act to pretend like she's a human being, and it gets really nasty. So I think also a little bit of the tension was because they're about to die. Like if they mess up one more time, they're gonna die, and they can't get out of this situation. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, there was definitely that tension. Also, I think this happens to like us sometimes too, because like their second fight before the camping trip,
Mm.
we don't know what the mission is, but they're like following this one guy, and Jane goes up the elevator with this guy, and she's like fighting with him on the elevator, and she's like every time she's about to get stabbed or killed or something like that. And they reach the ground floor while John is like climbing up the stairs. But this building has like 30 floors or
I think you
something.
mean they reached the top floor.
Yeah, they reach the top floor, and meanwhile, like John is climbing up the stairs, and he has asthma, and so he's like, fuck this guy and stuff like that. And when Jane and the guy, they're at the top of the building, she finally like kills the guy and throws him off the building,
Hmm.
and she says like, "Fuck you, motherfucker," or something like that,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
it's done, motherfucker. And
Yeah.
like John starts laughing, and he's like, "Was that a line from a movie? Did I miss your first movie or something?" And Jane gets upset, and like sometimes when I'm trying to say something serious or I'm trying to do something serious, you would make a joke about it, and it like yeah, it annoys me too.
But it was funny. I feel like Jane lacked a sense of humor because that was funny. Like you kill a guy and your last words are "die, motherfucker, die." Like who are you, Dolomite? Like who are you, like Steven Seagal? Like what is this? So it was funny. I thought it was funny, but Jane was probably very tense because she almost died. The guy almost killed her. And yeah, as far as the therapist in this episode, I thought she was funny because like she had a son who was like, "Mom, can I play video games or something?" Or "Mom," and she was like, "Mommy's working." Meanwhile, mommy's like smoking weed after a session, and she's like, "Fuck these people." Like I just thought that was funny. As a future therapist, what do you think about that? Like, do you think people are like so draining in sessions?
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, one of the things that they teach you about being a therapist is that you have to like cleanse yourself after like every day, every week, every month. You have to have some sort of ritual, something that you do that cleanses you out of all those problems.
Mm.
And yeah, like she looks like she's a like wealthy person,
Hmm.
so she definitely like sees a lot of like people. And
Hmm.
imagine like not even people, like if she's only a couples therapist, then it's like just imagine couples like bickering, all day, every day, like all sorts of probably about same stuff. You see people who shouldn't be married to each other, but
Hmm.
they are.
Mm.
And you just want
Mm.
to tell them like get a fucking divorce, but you can't. uh
Wait, you can't do that? Wait, if you're a couples therapist, you can't recommend a divorce?
Not explicitly, no.
Really?
I mean,
Mm.
I feel like it would be unethical to do that because the aim of the therapy is not to find a solution but show the way,
But
basically.
if they're at an impasse, if it's the unstoppable object against the immovable force, what are you going to continue to try to do? Put that
You can
despair
say
around hold?
something like she said, guys, you're not here by force, you choose to be in this relationship, so if you don't
Ah,
want that, then don't choose it. Something like
wow.
that.
That's the only way a couples therapist could recommend a divorce, just by passively aggressively sliding that in there.
With normal couples, I would say yes, but of course, if it's like violence or anything like that, then you can like say whatever you want, even call the
Mhm.
police. But yeah, and I think like also in this episode, they didn't ask for their sessions to be recorded, but Hi Hi did, right?
No, 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 no.
Because no, because when the therapist said some like people want it to be recorded, and you asked for it, but they didn't know what was that about,
No,
like.
no, no. What she said at the end was that, yeah, I told you all of the sessions will be recorded. And then at the end of the month, I give you a little flash drive that has all the sessions so you can build on what we've discussed in our therapy, right? That's what she said. It wasn't like a request from the company because if the company requested it, there'd be no reason to burn down the house.
I thought it was Hi Hi who requested it, like
No,
separately from them, like
no, no,
like it was from them, but they didn't actually, and then they figure out like Hi Hi was listening to their therapy session.
no, no, because the therapist is hi, duh.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, episode 2 was cool. It was interesting how over the sessions, like the tension just kept building and building. And I think there was a part where like John like really went off on Jane. Also in the couch scene too, like the therapist had to leave the room, and he like turns to her and says, "You could have almost got me killed" or something like that. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But this episode was cool. I think it was like on the same level as Double Date. And yeah, episode 6 was really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode.
All right.
It was like funny and stuff. Yeah.
All right, so episode 7, Infidelity. We're one episode away from the finale, and this, by the way, once again, this show gets better and better. So if you just watch, 4 through 8, like a good, 2 hours of media right here, you got yourself some entertainment. So episode 7, Infidelity. John and Jane now work missions separately. Jane infiltrates and, at gunpoint, interrogates John's target, Bev, a spy working for a rival company, about their relationship, who she assumes he is sleeping with. John returns, and Bev attacks both of them before escaping, nearly killing John. They track Bev, but she dumps her tracker at the cafe where the Smiths had their first mission and disappears. They realize the company supplied them with the information on each other's actions and locations. It becomes clear the company has been trying to cause a rift between the two. Now, with 3 fails, they are instructed to await further instructions. John concedes he is done and leaves. Jane smashes John's computer in anger, and a new one is ominously delivered the next morning. What did you think of this episode?
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to see that actor again because she was in the series that we watched, I Might Destroy You.
Mm.
Yeah, Michelle Coel.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, she's cool. I like her, and she did a good job as a spy as well. Yeah, it was like interesting, facing the girl you've been cheated with.
Hmm.
But I mean, they didn't really cheat. But I do think that John liked doing separate missions, and it was sort of his escape to get away from Jane
Hmm.
sometimes because Jane is sort of like this controlling person, and yeah, she doesn't get humor sometimes and stuff like that. So I do think like it might be suffocating for John to be with her
Hmm.
at points. So I do think he was enjoying this mission,
Hmm.
and he was maybe like, he said he tried to like sleep with Bev, but he couldn't get it up.
Because he was scared of black women.
Wow. I mean, he says because he was thinking about like Jane, but yeah, I don't know about that part.
Exactly. He was scared of that sweet black pussy, as DJ Quick would say.
Wow. Okay.
He said that the reason he was taking so long on this mission is because he was trying to find out more about the company because he knows that she is a spy too. So he was like, I was about to get her to reveal like who the company is, and I was like, why do you want to know who the company is so bad? Maybe he wants to know because he knows he's about to fail one more mission, so he's going to try to like fight them and take it to the top. But I was like, what is the aim though? What's the point? Like, get your money, stack it up, and then go low risk. But what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think he was trying to get out of the situation a little bit because honestly, seems like from the stuff he says and things, he seems a very traditional guy.
Hmm.
Like, and he said it before, he would be more than happy to just deliver packages and do like very low risk.
Hmm.
And he was, I think, the only reason like he ended up coming like high risk or becoming like whatever they are doing is because he was really broke.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, and he didn't really want to, so maybe he was looking for some way out or blackmailing the high. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and I really like the fight scene in this
Hmm.
episode because it was like John almost died, and it was like
Hmm.
I thought he was gonna die or something, but of course in my head like he can't die because he's one of the lead characters, but really he was about to die, and yeah, I was like on my feet.
Hmm. Yeah, there was. I also really like in this episode. There's an extreme tension at the beginning because Jane breaks into this woman's house and is holding a gun to this woman the entire time they're sitting on the couch. And Jane is like about to cry. She's in tears. She's erratic. It reminds me of that scene in Goodfellas when Karen put the gun in her husband's face, and Jane is asking questions like, "How long have you been seeing my John?" or something like that. And what has he said about me? And did you sleep together? And is he coming now? And stuff like that. So there's all this tension, and I really like that sort of energy at least once or twice in like a good drama or movie related to action too, because I didn't know where it was going to go. And yeah, the scene where the other spy like puts the wire around John's neck and is about to cut his neck loose too. That was very tense as well. And the chasing scene when John and Jane are chasing this other spy all through New York, that was very tense too. So I liked all of that. I like this episode a lot, like possibly the most. This episode I feel like is better than Double Date, and it was a very good start to like the climax of the show.
Yeah, and like those like little scenes where we see like these two characters being so different because so they end up like chasing Bev on the metro on the subway and they lose her, and
Hmm.
so but John has a tracker on Bev, but
Hmm.
his phone is dead. He didn't
Hmm.
charge his phone. So it's like once again, like we see John being sort of like clumsy with his missions and Jane has to save the day. And so they end up going to this deli and this guy saying like, I can't let you charge your phone because you might have a virus. And Jane, like instead of arguing with the guy, she buys a bunch of stuff and she licks the bread that she buys and she makes all the stuff unreturnable. She opens up all the packages and the store only accepts cash or Venmo. So she's like, now we have to charge our phone, I guess, because we don't have cash and we only have credit card. So like, once again, she saves the day. And yeah, like I don't know, like sometimes she's so controlling and she's so annoying, like she's so harsh and cold. But at the same time, I feel like, okay, like maybe she has a reason to be like that.
Mm, mm. For some reason, picking up bread at the store and licking it seems super gross, even though we're going to buy that same bread and bring it home and eat it. I don't know why. I don't know
What?
why. I don't know why that was just gross to me. Like to pick up a loaf of bread at the store and lick it. But at the same time, like I would take that bread home, slice it up, and make a pumpernickel sandwich. I don't know, like
Yeah, why would it be gross?
I don't know. Just to me, it just seems gross. I don't know why. For some reason, the bread at the store is gross until I buy it and take it home. Now it's my bread.
Okay, Simon, you're weird.
I don't know why. And what's up with this like blatant Jewish like stereotype character? Like the store owner was like the stereotypical like my shekels. Like what was up with that? I was like, yo, the dude had the hook nose, the yarmulke, leaning over the counter, just like, where's my money? Like, what is that? That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was weird, but
And we
and it
know.
was like they made him like at the end. I think Jane gives him like extra money, and he's
Mhm.
like, "It's all okay."
Yeah.
So they also made like that stereotype too.
I was like, yo, we know how Glover feels about Gaza, but goddamn. That was a bit on the nose, to say the least. But
Wow.
yeah, this was a cool episode, and I think this is when they get the alert that they failed the third time. John said that he's leaving. Like he said, I'm going to leave in the morning or something like that. And this is like the breakup. So this is when they finally, call it quits. And that was that. So what did you think about the end?
Yeah, in the end, like I think it was weird because it felt like both of them didn't have the emotional energy to do this anymore.
Hmm.
Because John was like, "It was my mission and I failed," and Jane is like, "Oh, stop being like such a fucking hero.
Hmm.
Like we both failed and this is not gonna go on." And yeah, I think they were just like scared of what was gonna happen next.
Yeah. One thing I didn't get is that, how could the company be trying to split them up? Like, in my mind, if I was in this situation, it's not like I can just go and do separate missions and fail them. And now, oh, I start all over. That's my first fail, not Jane and John's first fail. That sounds like trying to cheat the system. Like, you're in this as a team. So one fail is one fail for everybody. And separately, and secondly, too, like John feels like, or John and Jane feel like the company tried to split them up. But Jane told John when the company asked her if she wanted to replace him. And he said no, she said no. And she said that she loves him and he said he loves him or whatever and stuff like that. So like how I don't get how they perceive the company to try to split them up. You know what I mean?
I think like I think it was like the company wanted Jane to go to the next level, and they didn't like said anything to John. And
Hmm.
when Jane said no and turned down going super high risk, I
Hmm.
think that's when company already sort of decided to kill them,
Mm.
because yeah, they can't just like let them go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think like in between that, the company was just like, okay, maybe we'll get like some another mission out of the way, and the company was just like stalling them basically.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
think.
Another angle of the show that I have to bring up is that I'm not a spy or anything. Like I'm not doing anything like that. But my job is somewhat like kind of very similar to like the Mr. and Mr. Smith situation, right? Mr. and Mrs. Smith situation. Like I have a boss who I've only spoken to one time. We just exchange WhatsApp messages every now and then. I get a message like, "This is your new student. Report at Tuesday 6 p.m." And I show up and do it. The money comes to my account. It's very similar in that sense, like this impersonality that you have with work. And I think this is another commentary the movie is trying to give. Like we're coming divorced even from work itself, like alienated from our supervisors, our managers, what our companies even do. Like we're dealing with such large corporations and mega structures that now work. Your boss could tell you to kill somebody, and you never know who to report to, right? You never know who is accountable for this because you're just doing it, but you don't know what purpose it serves. So I
Mm,
think I think there is some like capitalistic critique of this film, right? If that
mm.
makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like I didn't think of it, but yeah, I guess you can say that for almost every online job.
Hmm.
Where people just get instructions from their bosses and they don't even see them.
Yeah.
And it also makes the employees more disposable
Right.
because it would be hard for you to like dispose someone if you personally know them and see them every day, and
Yeah.
at least have like even on the surface level, at least you have like conversations with them on
Right.
a daily basis or a weekly
Right.
basis.
Right.
It would be hard for you to dispose them, but it's easier if with online jobs and stuff, it's easier to fire people.
Right, right. But I think it's not only online jobs, it's like almost every job. Like imagine you work at FedEx and your job, you go to work every day, they say, okay, deliver this package, go here, go here. You don't know, who the highest levels of FedEx are. You don't know who the top people are. They're just telling you what to do and you just go do it, right? And it becomes even more impersonal, right? Like somebody might work for Uber and you just get a notification on your phone, go here, drive here, pick up that, do this, right? You get what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like work is becoming so large and so alienating that we don't even know who the people are that we're supposed to work for. You get what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I'll go to the last episode here, a breakup. So John and Jane are instructed to terminate each other. Jane is shot at, and her cat Max is killed, while John discovers tripwire and C4 at his mother's house. They agree to meet up, both blaming the other. Jane nearly kills John with a bomb, but he escapes and gives chase. Jane makes it home to find John's mother, who reveals his real name as Michael and seeks to give Jane advice against breaking up with him before leaving. John uses the neighbor's house to gain access to his house. Using weapons hidden throughout the house, the duo fight to the point of exhaustion. John ultimately prevails and injects them both with truth serum. Delirious, they both admit they had the chance they had the chance to, but chose not to kill each other, and they loved each other. Among other personal secrets, they realized neither of them were behind the earlier attempts on their lives, as the Smiths they previously met enter the house to kill them. The other Smiths reveal super high risk is the execution of Smiths, and their belief that the company is omniscient. The duo kill the other John and escape to the safe room. Did they kill him? I don't think they killed him, but
They
anyway.
blinded him.
Yeah, yeah, like he said, my eye. Anyway, the duo kill the other John and escape to the safe room, with John seemingly mortally wounded. Jane agrees to have kids, reveals her name is Alana, and with one bullet left, makes her final stand. Outside the building, 3 shots are seen fired. What did you think of the last episode?
Yeah, I liked it because it was like, is there going to be a second season? Is there not going to be a second season? We don't know the ending, so I'm definitely hoping there will be a second season. And this was like also the episode where things are now like a bit unfolding.
Mm-hmm.
I was really sad that Max died
Mm-hmm.
because that was like the only thing that Jane really like, loved, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
except John. And fun fact here, the lady who played Donald Glover's mom, John's mom, is actually his mom.
Wow. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, and she was so cute. And I don't know, it's revealed a little bit more about John, and we know like why he's a mama's boy because his mom is so cute. And I was thinking like, why are you thinking that um, each other wanted to kill each other? Why are
Mm-hmm.
you thinking it's the other person who's trying to kill you instead of blaming the company?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like I would have blamed the company, but maybe it was because of the messages that they were receiving,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like a cool like I guess fighting scene between them where
Mm-hmm.
they were in public and they were constantly like trying to kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
And also like that reveal with the next door neighbor,
Yeah.
that was interesting as well. I don't know. So far, what did you think about?
No, I really liked the last episode. Maybe not so much the like fighting in public and the chasing each other through the city scene. It seemed a bit unbelievable. Like for example, they're chasing each other, and then John gets up in front of a crowd and yells, "There's a bomb! Somebody's got a bomb!" And all the people just run automatically instead of telling Donald Glover, "Sit your little ass down, nigga. You scared of black women." Like I wish somebody, I wish somebody did that. But it was cool. I really liked the action scene in the house when they were shooting each other in the house, and that was a nod to the other Mr. and Mrs. Smith movie with Brangelina. And I liked how
Mm.
they brought that part of the original film to this series because that was cool. That was really cool, and they did it very well. I was glad Max died because that cat was most useless character in the show.
No.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I don't have any feelings about the cat. But what was I going to say? I liked also how the next door neighbor was revealed to be basically a property developer in New York who literally was like spying on them because they had something very valuable, which was their house. He was like, "You guys just moved out of nowhere and you joined two brownstones together. You put a swimming pool in it, a helicopter pad. How could you do it? The city would never let you do it, even if you had $200 million." Like, and so it was interesting because these people are spies, but they don't know what they're spying for. And there's no purpose to their spying. There's no passion for it. But this guy is doing it for his job, right? Which I think was interesting because, like, spying, of course, is something that nations and companies have done forever, but it's always been for a purpose. But I think the difference with John and James Smith, and this is the capitalistic critique, is that there is no purpose to their spying. These are just mercenaries who are just sent out into the world to kill, 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 murder, 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 collect information for what? They don't know. But this guy
Mhm.
has a reason for his spying, and that's because he loves property. He loves the house. It's a beautiful home, and he's waiting for something to happen to them so that he can sell it. So I just thought that was very interesting there, that little reveal. What did you think?
Yeah, I once again I didn't think of that when I was watching, but that's definitely a good like take on it. And yeah, like he was passionate, and yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also thought that like when Jane had that conversation with John's mom,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that she was regretting the fact that she had to kill John,
Mm-hmm.
or that John was trying to kill her because she felt warmness from the mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's something that lacked in her life since we know like she's not really good with either of her family members, really.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought that was like also, a little, it's like a nod to like sometimes we need guidance. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, yes, like those older people, our parents, they really know the best sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Theory time. My theory. John's father is dead. His mother is still alive. His mother is actually a Jane. In fact, she's the highest level Jane. She is high high. And the reason she created this whole program is because she wants her son to find a nice girl so that she can have grandkids.
Okay, you're insane.
That's the that's
No.
the that's the fan theory. That's the ultimate fan theory. The reason why she was so cool about everything, and she didn't ask questions about how her son got this beautiful mansion, how her son got this exotic looking Asian broad. He didn't ask. She didn't ask because she knew all along. Hi hi.
Wow. No.
Yes
Do you
yes.
think that's why like okay, I'm starting to buy into it because do you remember in the beginning we see John and Jane like in the first episode being questioned by this
Hmm.
spy company and they
Hmm.
ask weird stuff
Hmm.
and like how their relationship is with their families and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
it kind of feels like those dating websites profiles that you said
Hmm.
a little bit. So now I'm contemplating this theory of yours.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. The whole thing is to bring the find perfect matches for couples. That's the entire thing, right?
Wow.
And John's mom is super high risk, but her husband didn't want to move up, so he got eliminated, right? And now she's at the pinnacle. I'm telling you, that's the only way
Wow.
it
Oh my God.
is. But what did you think about the ending with the three shots? Do you think the three shots showed that John and Jane died? Did they kill the other Jane, the high risk Jane? What do you think?
I really don't want like John to die or either of them to die, like John or Jane to die. But
Hmm.
Jane said that she only had one bullet
Hmm.
left and there were
Hmm.
three shots.
Hmm.
So in my head, if she only had one bullet, then like how come she was the one who shot the gun?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe it was like, if I remember, maybe there was like some, if there's like some distance between the first shot and the other two shots,
Hmm.
maybe she shot the lady and then she grabbed the gun and shot her again and again. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's the reason.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think I'm just gonna have hope that this series is over and we don't have to have a season two because I
Oh.
don't. I think I'm gonna say that the high risk Jane executed John and Jane, and I think it was interesting how high risk John and Jane were talking about the company. Like the company knows everything; they're there to speak about everything, and they know what's about to happen before it happens, which makes me think that they're working for a cult. Like this is not just some spy organization or a company. This is like some movement, and they're the enforcers of this movement that's happening that we don't know about. And yeah, I think this is another capitalist critique. Like they worship this company as the
Hmm.
best, as the greatest. Just like how some people are big fans of companies and think that they can do no wrong, right? So that's my opinion.
Yeah, like when we work for example, when people work for certain companies that have names
Hmm.
like Google or Amazon or I don't
Yeah,
know Microsoft and those companies,
yeah,
yeah, people I feel like see those companies as like the pinnacle of like development
hmm,
and just like people who run the world, like almost like a god, like you said. So
hmm,
yeah, maybe that is a critique. And
yeah.
what did you think about like the truth serum scene?
Oh, that was actually a really great scene. After the awesome like fight scene through the house where they're shooting at each other, tearing the whole place up. There's the scene where John injects her with truth serum, and they're like having an LSD moment, like a shrooms moment, like and yeah, they're basically confessing that all their feelings that they've had for each other, right? And John basically asks Jane like, "Do you did you ever love me?" And then she says yes, and I feel like John actually got validated for his feelings for her. I thought it was a very it was one of the coolest scenes. Like this is what Donald Glover is great at. Like I know I've been hating on him this entire time, but this is where I give him his props. He is great at taking those weird moments in life and putting them on film and in cinema in a way that makes it so funny and real and raw and just something very cathartic about it. Like taking drugs in the middle of this high intense scene where you're about to die. That's just top notch. Like that's great. That's great.
Yeah, no, it was a really good scene, and we learned that Jane's mother died in a car crash, and she was like so her body was so distorted that they couldn't even have an open casket for her,
Mm-hmm.
and that Joan owes money to his father,
Mm-hmm.
and also like his the only no not money I think yeah he owes them kids or something. That's what he
Mm-hmm.
says, like they want me to have kids so I owe them.
Mm-hmm.
And Jane reveals that she was a sociopath or she had
Mm-hmm.
sociopathic tendencies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was a pretty cool scene, and at the same time I was thinking I want to do this with you.
Listen, truth serum. Why do you want to do truth serum with me?
Because I want to just let out all of my deepest darkest thoughts that I can't even tell it to myself. So and also you have to do it too so I don't look like the asshole.
What do you mean? What do you want to say to me that you feel like you can't say to me?
I
You can tell me
can't. I need
everything.
truth serum.
You can tell me anything.
No, I mean, I'm joking. Like, of course, I don't have a big secret, but I would just like to try this experience. It's interesting,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, I was the one ready to do shrooms a few weeks ago or months ago, and you're like, "No, I'm scared."
I am scared.
Shrooms are not scary.
Okay,
They're not.
maybe I'll try if it's like this.
They're the furthest thing from scary. The shrooms are like chill for me. But yeah, no, it was a great scene. Overall, this was the highlight of the show. Great climax. And overall, I would say for anybody who's looking for something like semi funny, it's not laugh out loud funny. Good action sequences. If you're looking for something with like interesting scenery, like cool new locations, sexy millennial spy show, like you'll enjoy this. But there's really only a few episodes I would suggest. Episodes 4, 7, 8, 4, 6, 7, 8. Right? Like
Mm.
these are the ones I would suggest. Like if you had to watch this show, because each one is like a mini movie. Like you get the idea. If you understand the basic premise, both of them are spies put into a relationship, and they're doing missions across the world. If you watch these 4 episodes, you got the whole show. The other ones I feel like are unnecessary, honestly. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. It's decent. 7.5. What do you think?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, if you're gonna watch it, just watch the whole thing, I would say. Because, yes, like, there are 4 really good episodes, but the other ones are not bad. They're still, like, good. They're still pretty watchable. So I would say, like, just if you're going for it, it's only 8 episodes, so yeah.
Yeah, you could
But
blow through it during a weekend.
yeah, I would say I would give this. An 8.
An 8?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure there's a lot of Easter eggs in here. Like people are doing like breakdowns on this show saying, oh, in this episode, this art on the wall represents something like this, or oh, the song playing at this time is an 18th century chants from Gregoria. Like nobody gives a fuck about that. Nobody cares. Y'all chill. Y'all chill. Like, but yeah, it was cool. It was cool. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next thing he does so I can hate watch it. This is just my hobby now. You know, hate watching Donald Glover creations.
Wow. Wow. I hope that there's a second season.
Okay.
Like maybe there's a second season where they try to run from Hi Hi,
Mm.
and I don't know. Also, like their relationship is happening as well.
I think the second season might be just Jane because I think John is dead.
If it's just Jane, then it wouldn't be fun.
You don't think so? Her with a new John?
No,
No, she goes super high risk with new John, but
no,
she still misses old John.
I don't want it.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been episode 30 of Simon and AKDI movie reviews. This was our second series. Shout out to Mad Villainy for tuning in. We got a bunch of other movies on the list for y'all to check out. Subscribe to my channel, Simon Hill Keeps the Trail. Subscribe on Spotify, Cinema Crossroads. Subscribe to Backpack Bandits, our travel content. Stay tuned for more, and peace.